Imagine for a moment that your soul chose your family, not by chance, but with divine purpose. Yet, here you are, feeling burdened by a family that seems to have hurt you more than helped you. You question why you were placed in an environment that feels like a battlefield, where your spirit was chipped away instead of nurtured. You are not alone in feeling this way. I've been there. Perhaps you've been there too. The truth is, being born into a toxic family is not a punishment. It is not a mistake. It is part of God's plan for you. It is a gift, one that reshapes you, refines you, and awakens you. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel like a gift, not at first. The pain feels overwhelming, the struggles relentless. Yet, within this hardship lies an opportunity to uncover the profound wisdom and purpose that God has placed in your life. Toxic families are like fire. They burn, they hurt, and they leave scars. But fire also has a way of refining, of tempering the soul like steel. It strips away the illusions of an easy life, forcing us to confront the raw truths of our existence. Toxic families, though painful, are a training ground for the chosen ones. If you are born into such a family, it is because God has chosen you to break the cycles, to transcend the pain, and to rise above the brokenness. Why would God allow this? Why would your soul be placed in a family that feels so fractured? It is because the toxicity you were born into is not random. It is ancestral, generational, an accumulation of unhealed wounds and patterns passed down through your lineage. And you, my dear friend, were chosen to end it. Think about this deeply. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out, to heal, to bring transformation not just for yourself, but for the generations that came before and those who will come after. But here's the hard truth. To break a cycle, you must first experience it. You cannot heal what you do not understand. You cannot rise above what you haven't faced. That is why you were placed in the storm. Not to drown, but to learn how to swim. Not to suffer, but to awaken. When you look at your family, what do you see? Anger, neglect, manipulation, or control? And now, the harder question. Where do you see traces of that same energy within yourself? Toxic families don't just wound us, they mirror us. They reveal the parts of ourselves we are too afraid to face. This is why it is a gift. In the dysfunction of your family, you are given the opportunity to see yourself clearly, to heal, and to transform. As you do, you don't just change your life, you transform your lineage. But let's not pretend this is easy. Being born into a toxic family is one of the hardest paths a soul can choose. It demands strength, resilience, and courage. It requires you to face rejection, betrayal, and even abandonment. And yet, every time you choose love over hate, understanding over judgment, and faith over despair, you take one step closer to God's plan for you. The Bible reminds us in John 8:32, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Manipulators thrive on controlling your emotions, but the truth of God liberates you. God did not place you in this family to be consumed by pain, but to overcome it. When you acknowledge the patterns and set boundaries, you protect your heart and mind. These boundaries are not meant to punish, but to preserve your peace and integrity. The Bible also tells us in Ephesians 6:11, "Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." This armor includes wisdom, love, and the strength to say no when needed. Manipulation only works when you allow it. When you refuse to let others dictate your emotions, you reclaim your God-given power. This is not just about survival. It is about thriving, about becoming the person God has always intended you to be. So, let me ask you, have you seen these signs in your life? Have you faced the storm and found strength in God? Share your story. Let it inspire others who are struggling to see the purpose behind their pain. Together, we can break cycles, heal wounds, and build lives rooted in God's truth and love. You are not alone. You were chosen, not to live a life of despair, but to shine as a light in the darkness. God sees your struggles, and He walks with you every step of the way. Trust Him, surrender to His plan, and let His truth set you free. What if, instead of meeting your family's toxicity with anger, you chose compassion? Imagine the shift that would occur if you stopped seeing your family as adversaries and started viewing them as your greatest teachers. Consider this: their hurtful actions are not a reflection of your worth, but of their own pain. Their inability to love you in the way you deserve doesn't stem from your unlovability. It stems from their inability to love themselves. This is where transformation begins. When you stop labeling your family as the enemy and start seeing them as wounded souls, simply doing the best they can with what they have, everything changes. Instead of asking, "Why are they hurting me?" start asking, "What are they teaching me?" This shift in perspective is the key to unlocking the hidden gift within the pain. Here's the truth: your family's toxicity is not your burden to carry. It is an invitation to heal. It's a call to step into your identity beyond their projections, expectations, and pain. It's an opportunity to reclaim your power as a chosen one. But there's a vital truth to understand. You can't heal your family. Your mission is to heal yourself. In doing so, you create a ripple effect that can transform not only your life but also the dynamics around you. Let me share something personal. When I was younger, I believed that if I could just be good enough, successful enough, or strong enough, I could fix my family. I thought I could save them. But the harder I tried, the clearer it became that saving them was not my job. My job was to save myself. My role was to break free from the patterns that kept me stuck. And as I began to heal, something miraculous happened. The dynamics within my family began to shift, not because I forced them to change, but because I changed. This is the power of being a chosen one. You don't have to fight the darkness. You simply have to shine your light. But what does it mean to shine your light in the face of darkness? What does it mean to love yourself when it feels like no one else does? What does it mean to choose peace when chaos surrounds you? These are the questions you must answer. These are the questions that will guide you on your journey. Here's the most beautiful truth. The moment you stop viewing your family as a curse and start seeing them as a gift, everything changes. The moment you stop resisting your path and begin embracing it, you step into your true power. You were not born into a toxic family to be broken. You were born to rise, to heal, and to awaken. There's something extraordinary about a soul placed in the midst of chaos, dysfunction, and pain. The wounds inflicted by a toxic family don't just leave scars, they create openings. Openings for light to enter. Openings for awareness to grow. Openings for transformation to begin. But here's the paradox. Before you can see the gift, you must confront the wound. This is where many people get stuck. They resist the pain, fight against it, or run from it. But pain, especially the kind that stems from family, is not something you can outrun. It is something you must face directly. Think about the wounds you carry from your family. Perhaps you were criticized so often that you began to doubt your worth. Perhaps you were ignored so thoroughly that you started to believe your presence didn't matter. These wounds hurt deeply, but they also hold the potential for your greatest growth. When you stop running from the pain and instead choose to confront it, you open yourself to healing. You begin to see that the challenges you faced are not random, they are purposeful. They are designed to shape you into who God has called you to be. The scars left by your family's toxicity are not signs of defeat. They are evidence of your resilience and your calling to break free from the cycle. Your family's pain does not define you. Your response to it does. Every time you choose compassion over anger, understanding over judgment, and love over bitterness, you reclaim your power. You step into the truth of who you are, a chosen one, called to rise above, to heal, and to transform not only your own life, but also the lives of generations to come. Perhaps your voice didn't matter in your family, or maybe you were controlled so tightly that you forgot how to trust yourself. Perhaps the love you longed for came with conditions, teaching you to equate love with performance, approval, or sacrifice. These wounds are real. They hurt. They shape you. Yet, they also hold the key to your awakening, because every wound carries a lesson, every scar tells a story, and every pain carries the potential for growth. Let me ask you this. When you reflect on the pain your family caused, what emotions arise? Is it anger, resentment, or sadness? Now ask yourself a deeper question. What are these emotions teaching you about yourself? As chosen ones, our journey isn't merely to heal our families. It begins with healing ourselves. The process starts when you understand that the pain inflicted on you is not about you. It's about them, their wounds, fears, and limitations. Yet, somewhere along the way, you internalized it. You made their pain your own. You carried their burdens as if they were yours. This is where the true work begins. The work of separating yourself from the narrative your family wrote for you. The work of reclaiming your identity, your worth, and your power. But how do you heal from wounds so deep they feel ingrained in your very being? How do you break free from generational patterns that seem unshakable? It starts with awareness. Awareness that the way your family treated you does not define your value. Awareness that their toxicity is not your destiny. Awareness that you are not here to perpetuate the cycle, but to end it. Awareness is the first step, but transformation comes when you take responsibility, not for their actions, but for your healing. The moment you stop waiting for your family to change, to apologize, to validate you, or to love you the way you deserve, that is the moment you set yourself free. The hard truth is that some people will never change. Some wounds will never be acknowledged. Some apologies will never come, and that's okay. Your healing doesn't depend on them, it depends on you. What would it look like to forgive your family? Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. What would it feel like to release anger, resentment, and bitterness? Not to excuse their behavior, but to free yourself from carrying its weight. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or condoning. It's about declaring, I will no longer allow your actions to define me. I will no longer allow your pain to become my pain. I will no longer allow your toxicity to dictate my life. And here's the gift. As you heal, you awaken. As you release the pain, you reclaim your power. As you break free from your family's patterns, you step into the fullness of who you were created to be. Let's not sugarcoat it. Healing is messy. It's not a straight path. Awakening isn't easy. There will be days when the weight of your family's dysfunction feels unbearable. There will be moments when you doubt your strength to break the cycle. But in those moments, remember this. You were chosen for this. Not because it's easy, but because you are capable. Not because you deserve to suffer, but because you are called to transform suffering into strength, pain into purpose, and wounds into wisdom. What if the very things you see as your weaknesses, the scars left by your family, are actually your greatest strengths? What if rejection taught you self-love? What if neglect taught you independence? What if pain taught you compassion? This is the alchemy of the chosen one, transforming the wounds of the past into the wisdom of the present and the strength of the future. As chosen ones, we are called to transform the darkness we were born into and turn it into light. The pain we've endured becomes a catalyst for purpose, and the cycles we inherited are transformed into liberation, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who comes after us. Here's the profound truth. Your healing is not just about you. When you heal your entire lineage. When you break free, you show others that freedom is possible. When you step into your power, you give others permission to step into theirs. This is why toxic families, as difficult as they are, can be seen as a gift. Not because the pain is justified, but because the pain has purpose. That purpose is awakening. If you knew that your family's toxicity was the very thing that would lead to your transformation, how would you view it differently? If every wound was an invitation to grow, how would you respond? You are not a victim of your family. You are the catalyst for their transformation. You are not here to repeat their patterns. You are here to break them. You are not here to be defined by their pain. You are here to transcend it. And that is the gift. But knowing this truth is only the beginning. Recognizing that your toxic family has a purpose in your journey doesn't make the process any easier. The real work begins when you decide to take responsibility, not for their actions, but for your healing. True transformation happens when you choose to break free, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So, let me ask you, what does freedom mean to you? Not the kind of freedom that comes from cutting ties or walking away. That's surface level. True freedom is deeper. It's the kind where you no longer react to their words, their actions, or their judgments. It's the kind where their opinions no longer control you, their dysfunction no longer defines you, and their toxicity no longer limits you. This is the path of liberation, and it starts with one powerful decision. The decision to stop living in reaction to your family and start living in alignment with your truth. Breaking free isn't about running away. You could move to the other side of the world and still carry your family's wounds with you. The chains that bind you aren't external, they're internal. They're the beliefs you've internalized, the patterns you've inherited, and the stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you're worth. The first step on this path is awareness. Awareness of the patterns, beliefs, and stories that are keeping you stuck. Ask yourself, what patterns from my family am I unconsciously repeating in my own life? What beliefs about myself did I inherit from their words or actions? What stories am I telling myself about who I am because of the way they treated me? For example, maybe you grew up in a family where love was conditional, given only when you achieved something or met their expectations. Now, you might find yourself constantly striving for perfection, chasing external validation, and believing that your worth is tied to your accomplishments. Awareness is where healing begins. It allows you to see the chains for what they are and take the first steps toward breaking free, not just for yourself, but for generations to come. Healing from a family where your voice didn't matter, where your feelings were dismissed, your ideas ignored, can feel like an uphill battle. These experiences often leave you afraid to speak up, doubting your intuition and suppressing your truth. These patterns, beliefs, and stories become chains that tether you to your family's toxicity. Breaking free begins with identifying these chains, but awareness is only the first step. True liberation requires healing. And healing is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you were before the wounds. It's about peeling back the layers of conditioning, stripping away the false narratives, and reconnecting with the truth of who you are. Healing is not a straight path. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's a process of unlearning everything you thought you knew about yourself and rebuilding from the ground up. This journey demands three things: self-love, self-compassion, and self-discipline. Self-love is the foundation. It's the radical act of choosing yourself, even when no one else does. It's the practice of honoring your needs, your boundaries, and your worth, no matter how your family treated you. Self-love is recognizing that you are enough just as you are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. Yet, self-love isn't always easy, especially when you've been conditioned to believe you are unworthy. That's where self-compassion comes in. Self-compassion is the gentle voice that tells you it's okay to feel hurt, angry, or lost. It reminds you that healing is a journey, not a destination, and that you don't have to do it perfectly. It's about granting yourself grace and understanding as you navigate the complexities of your healing process. And then there's self-discipline, the backbone of true transformation. Healing is hard work. It requires you to show up for yourself every day, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's painful, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Self-discipline calls you to make choices that align with your highest self, even when old patterns tempt you to revert. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you lived every day as though you were worthy of love, respect, and happiness? What choices would you make? What boundaries would you set? What relationships would you let go of? Breaking free isn't about changing your family, it's about changing yourself. It's about stepping out of the role they cast you in and stepping into the truth of who you are. But breaking free doesn't mean abandoning your family. It doesn't mean cutting them off unless that's genuinely necessary for your well-being. Breaking free means detaching from their energy, expectations, and narratives. It means loving them from a place of wholeness, not obligation. It means seeing them for who they are, flawed, wounded, imperfect human beings, and choosing to rise above their pain instead of being consumed by it. Here's the most beautiful part. As you heal, you become a mirror. You reflect back to your family what's possible. You show them that transformation, freedom, and love are possible. Even if they never acknowledge it, your healing will inspire them. Your light will awaken something within them, even if it's never spoken aloud. Healing yourself is the ultimate act of liberation, not just for you, but for everyone around you. What if your greatest act of love for your family isn't fixing them, but becoming the fullest, freest version of yourself? What if your healing is the very seed that plants the possibility of change in them, even if it takes years or lifetimes to bloom? This is the path of the chosen ones. It's not an easy path, nor is it glamorous, but it is one of purpose, transformation, and liberation. Your family's toxicity is not your destiny. It's your training ground. It's the fire that forges you, the soil in which your soul grows. Every time you choose to rise above it, to heal, to love yourself in the face of their dysfunction, you fulfill your purpose as a chosen one. You weren't born into a toxic family by accident. You were placed there because you are strong enough to transcend it, wise enough to learn from it, and brave enough to heal it. And as you walk this path, remember, you are not alone. There are millions of chosen ones just like you, breaking cycles, healing wounds, and rewriting their destinies. Together, we are creating a new world, one built on love, compassion, and truth. What kind of life would you create if you fully stepped into your power?